and welcome to the show. Round the Nation right here. Jeff Waldorf here with you. Got a great show for you guys today. Lots of fun stuff, including Donald Trump on climate, new statements on that, and then maybe a little insider family drama in the Trump White House. Interesting. Tucker Carlson continues to go off the rails. We've got more segments from Tucker Carlson's conversations with some sponge guy. That's fun. Then we have an update on the MAGA Safe Space site. Interesting stuff. And then, of course, the big story of the day, we've got that college cheating scandal. We're going to talk about that. That's really interesting and a great example of wealth and privilege. So, but before I get into that, I need to adjust my sound levels, guys, because I noticed I'm a little low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go and change the volume and be right back in a second. So just hold on here. All right, guys. Sorry, I had to do a little bit of a mic adjustment. We're a little low on the volume, so that's stuff that I didn't get to prior to the show. So I am the sound guy, so I got it. All right, so hopefully it's a little bit better. I'll probably have to raise the volume in post. So whatever. Let's continue. So, like I said, got a great show for you guys today. Please like and share if you haven't already. So that helps out the show. Okay, now, let's get to some shout-outs before I get into the stories. First of all, let's go to patrons, patreon.com/TYTNation. These are members through the Patreon program. I want to give a shout-out to Jasmine Mann, Jason Lee, J Stage, JCD, and Jeff Curry. So thank you. As you can tell, I'm moving through them alphabetically. So don't worry if your name hasn't been called yet. I'll get to it. And so thank you to those who've signed up to become patrons. Patreon.com/TYTNation. Also, GoFundMe update. Randall Asado, newest donor, who has a message: keep independent journalism alive. Well, thank you so much, Randall. Randall? Thank you so much, Randall. I appreciate that. And thank you so much for donating to help independent progressive media. All right. So, that said, let's move in. Let's get to the first story. And, of course, it is climate change. Okay. All right. So President Trump is not a smart man. He's not a very stable genius. We already know this. We also know that he's not intellectually curious in any way and rejects things that are contrary to his long-standing beliefs. A great example of that is climate change and climate science. And, of course, one of the things that he has famously rejected is science in general. Now, during a morning tweet storm, for example, that coincided, interestingly enough, with a segment on Fox and Friends, which we know the president, from previous disclosures, actually gets his policy ideas from hosts of Fox News. So, for example, a host on Fox News could come out and say something completely off the wall, which is unsurprising, actually, like, oh my God, did you hear Iran stole billions of dollars? Then most likely you will hear, or you will see Donald Trump tweeting about it like 5 minutes later. That's what happened here. Now, this segment in question had to do with climate change. And they had on somebody named Patrick Moore. And they identified him as a co-founder of Greenpeace. Now, that's interesting, but we'll get to his comment. He said, while he was on the segment, the whole climate crisis is not only fake news, it's fake science. There's no climate crisis. There's weather and climate all around the world. And in fact, carbon dioxide is the main building block of all life. Now, I think he meant carbon, not carbon dioxide, which is, of course, a gas that we exhale. Well, anyway, now Donald Trump took that, he quoted that, put that in a tweet, and then added, wow. Wow, all right. Wow, both he is an idiot, and of course, also including, wow, Patrick Moore is also an idiot and a complete liar. So there's a lot in this story packed into a tweet, and so we're going to unpack that. For starters, Greenpeace says that Mr. Moore is not an environmental expert. Shocking, I know. People like that, making statements like that, don't seem like they're experts. But anyway, according to a Greenpeace statement, they said Patrick Moore often misrepresents himself in the media as an environmental expert or even an environmentalist, while offering anti-environmental opinions on a wide range of issues and taking a distinctly anti-environmental stance. But again, shocker, right? Now, he also exploits long-gone ties with Greenpeace to sell himself as a speaker and a pro-corporate spokesperson, usually taking positions that Greenpeace opposes. Weird, right? Oh, it's almost as if he gets paid to pretend that he's a scientist or pretend that he's an expert while doing promoting positions that's really good for the fossil fuel industry. Weird. And yet here's Donald Trump, of course, who believes climate change is a hoax, again affirming to his audience and to his followers that, yes, I believe climate change is fake. And here's the proof. And not only that, but look, there's a snowball. How worried should we be about the future? That's an honest question. How worried? Extremely worried. Extremely. I mean, look, right now you have an anti-science buffoon running the country on behalf of a party that believes that Jesus rode in on a freaking dinosaur and that someday he's going to come back. So we don't have to worry about anything. Make as many messes as you want. Don't clean your room. In fact, take everything dirty that you own. Take a bottle of oil and just dump it on the ground. Just dump it on the ground. That's okay. Jesus is coming back. So nobody cares. Nobody gives a crap. So let's just do it already. That's the modern conservative movement right now. Jesus. And look, they also believe that Trump is the closest thing to the Messiah that we have in this world. We are doomed, folks. If that's not scary, I don't know what it is. I don't know what is. I don't know what is. Now, the administration, which, by the way, the Trump administration, that's actually filled with actual real scientists, unlike that guy, right? Unlike the former fake Greenpeace guy, says that we have less than 12 years to turn the ship around before we crash into a not literal iceberg, because guess what? The literal icebergs will all be gone by then. And in response to that report, President Trump says, "Oh, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it." And then he goes a step further. See, saying one thing, spreading this dangerous, notion that, climate change is fake, is one thing. Yes, it is dangerous. Yes, it is problematic, right? But he takes it a step further, as of course he usually does, and proposes a budget that, again, for the second year in a row, decimates science. And I'm going to go and point out a couple of things in that budget. The National Science Foundation, in the proposed 2019 budget, would take would end up being cut by about $1 billion. That's the National Science Foundation. $1 billion. Gone. Gone. The Office of Science's budget would shrink by roughly 17% to $5.5 billion. The department's Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy would shrink by 86% from $2.379 billion to a total budget of $343 million. That's not a shrink. That is... Look, the guy's taking a hatchet to it, the budget. No, not just a hatchet. The guy's got a chainsaw. He's like, ooh, renewable energy? Ooh, yeah, I can't fund that. That goes against my donors in the oil industry. I was supposed to be like a chainsaw. It ended up looking like a machine gun. But anyway, that's what he's doing to the budget right now. And ironically, of course, that is the one thing, research into alternative energies and actually enacting alternative energy, that could actually put a stop to climate change. There's more. The EPA, you're not going to be surprised, that the EPA's budget would shrink by a third from $8.8 billion to $6.1 billion. Its science and technology programs would be funded at a total of about $440 million. That is nearly 40% below the current level. The budget line for air and energy research, which includes climate change science, would drop by about $60 million from about $95 to $32 million. This is a budget that reflects deep ignorance. Deep ignorance. I mean, again, you ask Trump, oh, it's fake. It's a hoax. A fake news. We could use some more of that global warming in when it's cold. Where's that global warming? Oh my God. The irony here is, again, we have a president that actually believes in fake news spread out by propagandists from the oil and gas industry who, despite their own findings, ExxonMobil, back in the 80s, knew that climate change was a problem. They turned around and said, you know what's more important to us? Short-term profit. I don't care if I destroy the planet. I don't care if I make the atmosphere uninhabitable to human life. Don't care. You know what? I'm going to make money, and by the time that happens, I'm going to be dead. So I'm just going to make my millions of dollars, billions of dollars. I'm stuffing it in my pocket. I'm going to live like a king while there are countries that will be devastated. A lot of the island nations will no longer be there. A lot of the coastline will no longer be there. Say goodbye to Florida. Say goodbye to Palm Beach. Say goodbye to Mar-a-Lago, interestingly enough. But by the time all that happens, Donald Trump and the rest of these climate deniers and the rest of these extremely wealthy CEOs, they'll be dead. So they don't care. They literally don't care. Hey, that's your problem. It's sickening, man. I cannot stress enough how dangerous this is. I mean, he's literally putting his ridiculous rhetoric into action while the planet burns. And that's really a metaphor to all these rich, wealthy CEOs in the fossil fuel industry and all these right-wing climate deniers. They're just setting the house on fire, and they're leaving out the back door. Your problem now. He's a menace to the planet. They all are. And I'm afraid, I have a real fear that we're not going to be able to recover in time after his disaster of a presidency is over. The damage that we are doing right now to not only the environment, but also to the government's response to climate change, to this catastrophe. Man, I'm worried that we're just not going to be in time. And that's sad. Okay. How's that for depressing? All right. Moving on. There we go. So it's no secret that the Trump White House is deeply dysfunctional. I mean, how many stories do we have to do on how utterly dysfunctional things are inside? People just completely ignoring Trump on his orders, as you're going to see in this story. Constant, endless turnover. I mean, people doing whatever they want. Donald Trump taking 7 hours of executive time per day to, drink Diet Coke, eat burgers, and watch Fox and Friends. It's a disaster. It's sad. But there's even more. According to a recent report, a new angle to that dysfunction has to do with Trump's family dynamics, at least inside the job. Now, Trump had allegedly, according to a book, Kushner, Inc., by journalist Vicky Ward, Trump had ordered his chief of staff, John Kelly, to fire his kids. Oh, I love that. So I'm going to read you the quote here. Allegedly, Vicky Ward writes that John Kelly was instructed by Trump to, quote, get rid of my kids. Get them back to New York. Get rid of them. According to the book, which has been previewed by the New York Times, Trump complained that his daughter Ivanka and his son-in-law Jared Kushner, quote, didn't know how to play the game and kept attracting negative press. There is just no self-awareness here at all. I mean, really. Hey, idiot, you're the one who attracts the most negative press. And look, do you want to know why your kids are getting negative articles written about them? Because they have no idea what they're doing. They don't belong there. What do they actually do? To this day, I have not figured out what Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump are actually there for. What do they do other than get business deals for themselves? And you got Jared Kushner going to the Middle East and having private meetings with the associates of Mohammed bin Salman, and actually having meetings with him. And you've got Ivanka Trump sitting in meetings with Chinese the Chinese President Xi in order to try to get deals for her business. That's all they're there to do. That's it. I mean, come on, man. And of course, you have all the others that are not in the White House but are continuously, advocating on behalf of the administration and the Trump family. You got Eric Trump, who's Fredo. He's ridiculous. He's an idiot. Don Jr. defending the administration by saying some of the most ridiculous, moronic things. And again, Ivanka Trump, just there to make business deals on behalf of her brand, and then to say stupid things about, how she's self-made. Ridiculous. There's more. Kelly reportedly said, well, we can't actually do that because it looked really bad if you fire your kids. So now what they did is actually somewhat worse. Apparently, the plan was, and this was the Jeff Sessions plan too, to make life as bad for Jared Kushner and Ivanka as they could in order to get them to quit. One of the ways they did that is that apparently they would refuse Ivanka and Kushner travel on Air Force One. Oh, sorry, you can't use Air Force One now. Why not? Why can't I use it? I'm the president's daughter. I can't, why? How dare you? How dare you? So you know what? You know what they did? They found a way around it. They ended up bringing Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin in order to get access to government flights. Can't deny me. I've got Mnuchin with me. So he's more than willing to come with me so we can use presidential flights. We can use Air Force One all we want. Oh, God. Oh. So apparently that entire plan didn't work. And you know who quit first? John Kelly. Wow, man. And so, look, that's all allegedly, right? Because we don't know what's in, what actually happened. And this is one of the, hundreds of books that are going to come out about the Trump presidency, about the Trump White House, and maybe some aren't exactly 100% truthful. We don't necessarily know, but it seems like it would be fairly accurate to me. But look, at the end of the day, too, it might not be because of how much special treatment is given to the Trump kids. I mean, look, when it comes to the Trump family, it's nepotism all the way. And so, unless you, of course, you're Tiffany. So, if you're Tiffany, then you don't get anything at all. But, of course, add in the fact, well, maybe not fact, but the idea that Ivanka and Kushner might have been smart enough to stay in those positions. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's not true. But if this did happen, and they actively fought to stay in those positions, well, it tells you something. And what does that say? It says that it is so lucrative to be in that position, despite all the negative press and all the pushback and all the politics, internal politics and infighting, etc. It was so lucrative that they would fight to stay in those positions. And that kind of goes to why people are in that position in the first place. Power. The whole point, the whole reason to get in a spot into the White House is to have power. Is to have power and to make connections. And that's what they're doing. And I think the Trump family and organization is making out very, very well in this arrangement. So whether this account is true or not, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if this is true. But again, it's very, very clear to me that a lot of what Ivanka is doing and a lot of what Jared Kushner is doing is helping themselves tremendously when it comes to money and power. So it's just another way that rich people maintain their grip on society. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Let's go to Tucker Carlson. So Tucker Carlson is in a little bit of trouble. He is under fire from some racist, misogynistic things that he said back in the 2000s. Media Matters recently released a trove of audio recordings from Carlson's time as a call-in for the Bubba the Love Sponge radio show. So, look, we talked about that yesterday, some of the misogynistic stuff. So now let's get to what he thinks about the war in Iraq. Now, look, Tucker Carlson, of course, he says, well, I wasn't in favor of the war in Iraq. I don't think the war in Iraq is a great idea. I am an anti-war voice. And he has been lauded by progressives, even some that have come on his show, Tulsi Gabbard, Ro Khanna, etc. They're like, hey, Glenn Greenwald, like, hey, look, we don't agree on a lot of issues, Tucker, but we are anti-war. And what I want to do is I want you to listen to some of those tapes and show why he's really the way that he is and why he is not a great ally in the anti-war movement. So first, we're going to go with, of course, what he thinks about the Iraqis and their culture. So let's take a listen.
These Arabs in Iraq aren't playing. Yes. We're the only ones that are playing.
They don't like us.
We are the only ones that are playing over there. They're not playing.
Also so just awful.
They're animals, dude.
Awful.
They are. I'm telling you that.
I hate the war. I have no, I'm not defending the war in any way, but I just have zero sympathy for them or their culture, a culture where people just don't use toilet paper or forks.
And the way they treat women, I agree with you. Their culture is, but you're in their homeland, and you're over there as an American who they hate, and they want nothing more than the Americans off of their soil. So they're not going to play games.
They can just shut the fuck up and obey, is my view. And the second we leave, they're going to be calling for us to return because they can't govern themselves.
So just shut the F up and obey. I mean, we come into their country, we invade their country, we overthrow their leader, and then we install our own puppet, and Tucker Carlson's like, just shut up and obey. God, why don't you start acting like human beings? I mean, not even using toilet paper forts. I mean, come on. God, animals. That's Tucker Carlson and what he thinks about people in Iraq. And again, he wants us to believe that he is a voice for, I don't know, being a anti-war, right? An anti-intervention. Well, there's more, right? Now, here's the thing. Again, we don't agree on like the reasoning, right? So, okay, the anti-war right and the anti-war left, we basically agree on the outcome, not going into endless, ridiculous wars, right? But here's where we're different. Progressives believe that, hey, maybe we shouldn't be, I don't know, imperialistic, right? And invade countries randomly for no reason in order to get their resources, right? We shouldn't get into the affairs of other countries because we end up doing more harm than good. I mean, look at Libya, right? And again, look at Iraq, look at Afghanistan. So, look, we do a lot of harm. Look at the innocent people who are killed in our wars, right? And we look at that and we say, as progressives, we should not repeat that because that is a major problem. Now, the difference between us and people like Tucker Carlson is they look at them as inferior people not worthy of our attention. They have a terrible culture, and we shouldn't just waste our time with these subhumans. You don't believe me? Well, you might want to listen to the next video here, or the next audio clip, and hear it directly from Tucker Carlson.
I mean, if Iraq turns out to be a great thing...
How can it turn out to be great? How could you salvage Iraq at this point?
I don't, it's beyond our control. I mean, if somehow the Iraqis decided to behave like human beings or something, I mean, it's beyond it. We can't, I don't think we can control it. I think that's the whole lesson of Iraq, is that it's very difficult to control other people's countries.
People of Canada, please understand that Tucker is a very good friend of mine, but I in no way, shape, or form share his views of how he feels about people from Canada. I love Canada. They're great people up there. Tucker feels if you guys are a bunch of assholes. And
I totally disagree. If I didn't like Canada, I wouldn't consider it worth invading. I mean, Iraq is a crappy place filled with a bunch of, semi-literate, primitive monkeys. That's why it wasn't worth invading. But Canada's a solid place with good-looking women and good fishing. We should invade.
Iraq is a crappy place filled with semi-literate primitive monkeys. They're not worth invading. Canada, however, they're worth invading. I know that Canada thing is probably a joke, but I don't think he was joking when he called the people of Iraq semi-literate monkeys. Fun fact, right? So before we actually got involved in the country of Iraq, did you know that they had one of the best education systems in the Middle East? I'm not kidding. Under his rule in 1972, Saddam Hussein established and controlled the National Campaign for the Eradication of Illiteracy and the Campaign for Compulsory Free Education in Iraq. Now, what they did is that they had nationalized their oil industry, right? And they used that money to establish universal free schooling up to the highest education levels. As a result, hundreds of thousands of Iraqi citizens learned to read in the years following the initiation of the program. Not only that, but the government used that money to support families of soldiers, granting free hospitalization to everyone and subsidies to farmers. In all, Iraq created one of the most modernized public health systems in the Middle East. That earned Saddam an award from the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. So that's on health and education, right? Now, according to the same agency, prior to the first Gulf War in 1991, Iraq had one of the best educational performances in the region. Primary school gross enrollment rate was 100%, and literacy levels were very high. In fact, they said, it is generally agreed upon that before 1990, the educational system in Iraq was one of the best in the region in addressing both access and equality. So what happened? Well, we happened. The situation for education and healthcare deteriorated rapidly due to several wars, that's not our fault, except for the one, of course, and U.S. economic sanctions. It is also agreed that education has suffered as a result of American-led domination, sanctions, and, of course, regional instability. So, I'm not saying Saddam was awesome. I'm not saying that at all, right? Yes, he was a dictator. He was very brutal. He did terrible things to the Kurds, right? That should not be ignored as part of his legacy. However, what also should not be ignored is that he nationalized the oil sector and used that money to help education and create vital programs, and especially education for his people. And he was also secular, and that's also something that doesn't get talked about a lot. And those programs, turns out, they were wildly successful. Now, what is one thing that the United States cannot handle when it comes to foreign countries? Countries that nationalize their oil interests. The Iraq War, at least the second one, was almost completely 100% predicated on getting access to their oil. 100%. You cannot how dare you? How dare you nationalize your oil interests? No. We want multinational corporations, oil companies, to have access to your oil. And we are willing to do sanctions on you, invade you, and everything for access to that oil. Look at what's going on in Venezuela. Same kind of situation. Maduro's not a great guy. Just like Saddam Hussein, not a great guy. But the United States is playing by the exact same playbook. Sanctions, weakening their government as a prelude to invasion and taking their natural resources. Of course. So, that's the truth about Iraq. And calling them semi-literate monkeys ignores the long history of American interventionism in the Middle East. But, of course, Tucker Carlson, that involves nuance and intellectual curiosity. No, this is much easier to be extremely racist than to actually look at the truth. And that is the difference here. The overall point is progressives, we are anti-war because of our values. There's nothing progressive about war. It destroys lives, economies, and nations for no real, actual, tangible benefit for the country being invaded. Whereas people like Tucker Carlson and the alt-right, they're anti-war because of a deep-seated racism, hatred of the other, and a desire to isolate America. We both agree. Endless war, not a great thing. But that is the end of where we agree. And too many progressives, I should say, I understand that may be enough, right? That we agree that we should stop endless war. But, okay, I get that. So for those of you who do feel that way, just understand who these anti-war right-wingers really are and what they really stand for. Sure, we can both agree and work to, and work in our own way to stop the American war machine. But understand, these are their motivations. Okay. I'm going to take a break. We'll come back. We got the Safe Space app. We're going to talk about that again. Because there's a new development in that story. You guys are going to love it. Interesting stuff. And then we have the college application scandal, which, of course, is rocking the country. So we got more information on that. Stay right here. Please like and share. If you haven't already, send your super chats. I want to read them. And I want to read some member comments after the break as well. So I'm going to read those, those comments from the chat right here. And we'll do that after the break. So stay right here, Around the Nation. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Whoops. Wrong button. Okay, we're back. Around the Nation right here, Jeff Waldorf here with you. Okay, so we have a new channel member, Ken Chester. So thank you, Ken, for signing up. If you want to sign up to be a channel member, different than being a Patreon member, of course, you can hit the join button below on the stream. Okay. And all of it goes, of course, to help the show. All right. So, one more thing here. I'm going to read some channel members. Actually, I just got a couple from Sarge Tech that I wanted to read, actually. Just as a response to that Tucker Carlson story. Because he said what he said on that Bubba show, you should take it as satire. BS. That's not what I was saying. Just to be clear. But I'm sure that'll be the defense. Oh, come on, he was joking, and it was bad. You know, it's not as bad as they thought. And come on, they're trying to be edgy. And there's nothing edgy about that. And you could definitely tell that they were pretty serious. So, and then finally, the question from Sarge says, how would you feel as a parent with a smart kid with a 4.0 get rejected because of people who had connections and money to buy their way in? I know I would be irate. I would be absolutely furious, and I think most of us would be as well. And, you know, I think I speak for everybody when I would say that absolutely it would drive me crazy. But that's unfortunately, and we're going to get to that story, fairly problematic. Okay, anyway. So, let's move on to that app here, the Safe Space app. Okay. I don't think I have the right one. Nope, I don't. Switch my sidebar here. A new app described as Yelp for Conservatives is having a little bit of a leaking problem. Now, the app named 63 Red Safe, which has the motto of keeping conservatives safe, is apparently doing a very poor job at it, as it has been found out that there is a data leak issue, or was a data leak issue. Now, first, in case you're wondering, in case you missed that segment, what is 63 Red? Well, I'm going to let the founder explain, as he did on Fox and Friends. Let's take a look.
And we're not looking to try and find restaurants that are conservative or pro-Trump. Our aim is to get politics out of local businesses, local restaurants, and make everyone feel comfortable when they go out.
Okay, and so I've seen this described as Yelp for conservatives. But Scott, on the locations that are deemed unsafe, and that one right there is safe, what went into saying they're not safe?
Sure. Well, you know, users can review the local businesses and restaurants. It's just 4 quick questions, yes or no questions. Number 1, does this location serve all customers regardless of political beliefs? Will they protect their customers if they're under attack by others in the restaurant? There's a concealed carry question, and does the location have a political presence in their social media? Again, we're trying to get politics out of these businesses. We want businesses to understand that there's no money in politics, and we're working to call them out on it. People just want to go out and eat. They just want to go out and shop. Let's not mix the two. There's sort of a general unease among conservatives, and we want to make sure everyone's safe out there.
We want to make sure everybody's safe out there. I get that. Again, apparently they're doing a pretty bad job of it. Now, this is according to Robert Baptiste. Now, Robert Baptiste is a French security researcher, and he goes under a fun little pseudonym of Elliot Anderson. Now, according to him, the 63 Red Safe app has leaked almost all of its data. Now, Baptiste says the app's source code contains the credentials of its author, but also a list of API endpoints to which it connects to store or retrieve data. Now, the back end, apparently, according to ZDNet, says that it doesn't use any form of authentication. This means that anybody could look up the can look at the app source code, get the API endpoints, and then extract data from the app server with no restriction. None. No restriction. Now, look, I'm not a code monkey, right? I once built a simple calculator out of code for school, and it was awful. I eventually got it to work, but man, did that suck. Afterwards, I was like, screw that. I am not going to be a coder. Look, for those of you who have been into code, like, I understand that there's basically two approaches. You either love coding or you hate it. I hate coding. So, on that, I'm no expert, right? But from what I've seen, that seems to be a little bit of an issue for privacy when you have no authentication at the back end. So, now using this technique, the French researcher was able to determine that 4,466 users had registered and created profiles since the app's launch over the weekend. So that is 4,466 snowflakes that wanted to make sure that they were safe. Okay. Now, for each profile, Baptiste says he was able to retrieve information such as username, email, avatar, follower count, following count, profile creation / update dates, band status, and something called a hot score. I don't even want to know. So, look, obviously that seems to be a lot of data that can be very, very compromising to its users. So it's a major security concern. But that's not all. Other API endpoints also allowed Baptiste to block users and tamper with the app's database logs to hide unwanted intrusions. So you can come in, change a bunch of stuff, and then slip out without, after you erase the database logs to show that you were never even there. Wow. Now, ZDNet also asked Baptiste in an interview if he could tamper with the user reviews of certain restaurants or businesses. Here's his response. Quote, I didn't test that, but I was able to do almost anything, to be frank. Yikes. So, let me just point out the irony real quick. The app is for conservatives to feel safe and not get harassed in whatever space they're planning to occupy. Perhaps you could call that a safe space. Because we all know how afraid conservatives are. And in signing up for this, these 4,000 plus users are now in actual danger because it turns out their data is now easily accessible to malicious actors. All because the coders themselves, the people who created this app, did not finish it, did not actually make a secure option. So I'm concerned about these people. I honestly, I don't want their data out there. Nobody deserves to have their information leaked or to be doxxed or anything like that. They could be in actual danger instead of pretend danger, which is what they usually are in. So I do hope this gets fixed. Now that leads me to where I disagree with Mr. Baptiste. Now, the researcher said, and in case you're wondering, didn't he tell the company? I mean, as soon as he found out that he could go and access these things, he should have went, hey, let's go to the company. And by the way, you got a ton of issues. Baptiste says he did not. He said, I didn't contact them. Let's say I don't really like Trump fans. I know. Look, I some of you watching, you're going to be like, well, it's true. I don't like him either. But come on. I mean, basic decency, right? I'd like to make fun of Trump fans, conservatives, and I especially love to make fun of their safe spaces, right? But I think the right thing to do is to tell the company so that they can fix it and protect these people's data. This is private data, that we're talking about here. And yes, I do believe they have the right to privacy. Political affiliation or not, you got to do the right thing. Now, thankfully, ZDNet, after their interview, reached out to the company. They contacted 63Red and its founder and said, hey, man, we just had an interview for somebody that claims that your data is leaking everywhere. So maybe you all need to fix that. And then, of course, they did. A company spokesman reached out to ZDNet via email and said, quote, "We take this matter very seriously and have already taken action to additionally protect our data." Now, they should have actually done that in the first place. But something tells me that they didn't quite know what they were doing, like a lot of these conservative offshoots. But whatever. Now, they also said the security of our users and conservatives generally is our primary concern. Why not just take everybody's security and safety into consideration? But they can't. They're constant victims. But they said, we will continue to improve our systems any way possible to guarantee their safety. Because, look, again, I do want conservatives to have their safe spaces. That's fair. So, okay. Anyway, let's go to the next story here. Moving on. All right. Oh, that's so bad. I'm such a bad person. Okay. So earlier today, news broke of a gigantic college admissions cheating scam involving quite a few people. I think over 50 people so far. And it also involves two famous actresses. Now, these actresses are Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin. Now, Lori Loughlin, of course, is known as Aunt Becky on Fuller House. So now, according to the U.S. Department of Justice, the FBI, these people, as well as other executives, have been charged in the largest college cheating scam ever prosecuted. Now, those indicted in the investigation allegedly paid bribes of up to $6 million to get their kids into elite colleges, including Yale, Stanford, Georgetown, and the University of Southern California. Now, Andrew Lelling, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, actually took charge in this case, and there's a reason. Of course, this is all happening in Massachusetts. Now, Lelling said the ringleader of this is William Singer. Now, William Singer is the owner of a college counseling service called Key Worldwide Foundation, and I actually found this by looking into a completely unrelated case, and it had to do with the University of Boston. Now, Singer is now expected to plead guilty in a Boston federal court on charges of racketeering, conspiracy, money laundering, conspiracy to defraud the United States, and obstruction of justice. So this is huge. Now, he is alleged, according to Lelling, to have taken $25 million in bribes from parents between 2011 and 2018 to guarantee their children's admission into some of these elite schools. Those charged in the probe include 9 coaches at elite schools, 2 SAT and ACT exam administrators, 1 exam proctor, a college administrator, and 33 parents, including Huffman and Loughlin. Now, according to a news conference, Lelling also said, the case is about widening corruption of elite college admissions through the steady application of wealth combined with fraud, and added, there can be no separate college admission system for the wealthy, and I'll add, there will not be separate criminal justice systems either. Well, that is a nice sentiment, but I will believe it when I see it. Now, as of the people, of course, who are indicted and involved in this case, Lelling said the parents here are a catalog of both wealth and privilege. They include, for example, the CEOs of private and public companies, successful securities and real estate investors, 2 well-known actresses, a famous fashion designer, and the co-chairman of a global law firm. Also named as defendants in the indictment are Robert Zangrillo, founder and CEO of the private investment firm Dragon Global, Bill Glashan, a businessman and international private equity investor, Gordon Kaplan, a New York attorney. So that is a lot of people in some very high-profile positions. And look at that. They might actually be punished for bribery. So here are some of the details, right? So getting into what they actually did and what that looked like. Now, Singer had allegedly taken some of that money and bribed coaches who, quote, agreed to pretend that certain applicants were recruited competitive athletes when, in fact, they are not. So the coaches allegedly knew that the students' athletic credentials had been fabricated. So what happens is, first they bribe the coaches. Well, actually, no. That's second. First, they created fake profiles for their kids, which included fake athletic credentials and honors, or fake participation in elite club teams. Some parents even ended up staging photos or photoshopping pics of their kids participating in sports. So then Singer will then go and bribe the coaches, who would see through the obvious fabrications. And then the coaches would sign off and say, oh yeah, you're an athletic person, so we will let you in for your athleticism. Not only that, but when it didn't involve athletics, Singer had allegedly arranged for a student to take the SAT and ACT exams individually with a proctor in Texas or California that he had ended up bribing. Back to the sports. In one case, the head women's soccer coach at Yale University was paid $400,000 to accept a student even though the applicant did not play soccer. The parents of that student ended up paying Singer $1.2 million. Now, look, I know a lot of parents would do anything they can for their kids. But something like this, I mean, really? I mean, these are people, again, born into wealth and privilege. Did they really have to take it an extra notch? And now, for this to be happening, too, with such a wide range of people, well, there'd have to be a precedent of people getting away with it for such a long time for it to be so organized and so brazen. And what's interesting about this is apparently most of the students had no idea that their admission was contingent on a bribe. They had no idea. They're like, oh, cool, I got into the college that I wanted to. Fantastic. Now, I'm going to give you a quote from Laughlin's daughter that has actually come out to bite her in the butt, actually right now. So now, Laughlin has a 19-year-old daughter who goes by Olivia Jade. Now, she has a YouTube channel, and she posted a video in which she said, and this is how it relates, that she was only interested in going to college for the parties. Quote, I don't know how much of school I'm going to attend, but I'm going to go in and talk to my deans and everyone, and I hope that I can try and balance it all. But I do want the experience of game days, partying. I don't really care about school, as you guys know. Well then. Damn. So that happened actually last year. So now this breaks, and you suddenly have a lot of people paying attention to that. So now some of the comments on her video from users said, I honestly found it very disappointing when you said you care more about parties and tailgates rather than your education. If you hate school so much, why go to college? And it's honestly insulting when tons of people can't even afford to go to college, but want to. Another user wrote, dang, must be nice to only go to school for the game days or to party. Here I am going because I would be the first in my family's generation to have a degree and better opportunities. After reading the comments, Olivia Jade posted an apology. She said, quote, I said something super ignorant and stupid. Basically, and it totally came across that I'm ungrateful for college. I'm going to a really nice school, and it just kind of made it seem like I don't care. I just want to brush it off. I'm just going to be successful at YouTube and not going to have to worry about school. I'm really disappointed in myself. I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry for anyone I offended by saying that. I know it's a privilege and a blessing, and I'm really grateful. So, again, the reason that I read those comments is to show you just, how this plays out and how people feel about this, right? So imagine being somebody who can't afford to go to school, really wants to go to school, really wants to be able to, you know, get a good education so they can try to get a good career, right? And then just imagine rich girl, born into the lap of luxury, wealth, and privilege, saying of school, I don't really care about it. I just want to make YouTube videos. Nothing wrong with making YouTube videos. I'm on a YouTube video, right? But I don't care about education. I don't care about this fantastic privilege that I've been given. The fact that my school is being paid for fully. And now what she didn't know is that her family bribed her way in, which is even worse. So I just want to point out that scrutiny there and those comments. Now, there's more. As for most of the students not knowing that their admission was contingent on the bribe, look, on that, I mean, we're supposed to believe that some of the people in rich families get to go to college because of meritocracy, right? Now, look, some probably do. But as this illustrates, and like the comments from Olivia Jade, many don't, or they don't care about it. Where they, you know, how they get in is they got money and they got fame. Now, there is evidence that Huffman at least attempted to hide what she was doing because she knew it was wrong. And that's going to play out in criminal proceedings, right? According to the charging papers, Huffman made a purported charitable contribution of $15,000 to participate in the college entrance exam cheating scheme on behalf of her eldest daughter. Huffman later made arrangements to pursue the scheme a second time for her younger daughter before deciding not to do so. Now, as far as Aunt Becky goes, the documents say that Laughlin and her husband, fashion designer Massimo Giannulli, agreed to pay bribes totaling $500,000 in exchange for having their two daughters designated as recruits to the USC crew team, despite the fact that they did not participate in crew, thereby facilitating their admission to USC. And of course, as proof, they've got emails from Laughlin implicating her in the scam. Now look, Huffman has already been arrested, but Laughlin is in Canada at the moment, so we don't know where she is. So she's probably going to end up turning herself in very soon, very likely, right? Now the thing here that makes me so mad about this story is the elitism, right? We hear over and over from people who are of means, right? We're better than you. Oh, we're smarter than you. And we work harder than you. And that's why we're rich. We got into college because we're better than you. That's how we get into the elite schools. We're self-made. When in reality, no. These people have massive advantages in wealth. And in some cases, that wealth was used to get you into a position that you didn't earn, that you didn't deserve. They use that wealth gap to tip the scales. Now, if I were one of those kids and I didn't know and I found out about this, I'd be livid. Because then I'd be like, well, wait a minute now. What if I did work hard? What if I did earn this? And it turns out that I didn't. And that my parents bribed people, broke the law in order to get me into a college position that I didn't earn, that I didn't deserve, or that I could have earned myself. I'd be pissed. But, look, I wonder how many of them are angry. We'll have to see. But the whole thing is gross. And it shows you the deep, deep corruption of people in this country who are wealthy and powerful, and how they have so many unfair advantages over the rest of us simply for the fact that they have more money. It's gross, it's sickening, and that's really all that I can say. Okay. So, that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in around the nation. If you haven't already, please like and share the stream. Like and share our videos as well. And thank you so much. I appreciate it. I got to go now. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. So make sure to tune in for that. Coming up next, the Young Turks. So that's it. Thank you, guys. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you guys tomorrow.